Survivors of the Fort Hood massacre took the stand, recounting the horrors of that day nearly 4 years ago. Emotional testimony from some who thought the shooting was actually a drill. Fox 4's Brandon Todd has been there all week following this, and Brandon, you've been tweeting a lot of that testimony. What are some of the details to pass on?
Right, again, very emotional testimony, as you mentioned. Some of that testimony coming from people who were not only shot just once, but several times. And once again, Major Nidal Hasan, acting as his own attorney, refuses to engage any of them.
The witnesses tell virtually the same story, but all with different vantage points. Most all have said they heard Major Nidal Hasan yell Allah Akbar inside a medical testing area back in 2009 and then open fire on uniformed soldiers. When the massacre was over, 13 people were dead. Several witnesses told the jury at first they thought it was a training exercise, but when they felt pain, saw their own blood, and saw fellow soldiers lying there dead, they knew it was real. Law professor and former judge advocate Richard Rosen has been closely watching this trial.
How compelling it is, how gut-wrenching it is, how good the witnesses have been. They're painting a picture of bedlam, really a horrific scene.
So far, Hasan has not questioned even one of the witnesses. He only objected once to a picture of a victim that was shown to the panel once before. The judge warned attorneys early on about showing the jury crime scene pictures over and over. In this case, the judge, Colonel Tara Osborne, overruled Hasan's objection and they moved on. But Hasan also seems to be ignoring obvious tactics by the prosecution, like leading the witness and argumentative statements.
I know yesterday a witness started out his testimony about before Hasan began his rampage. I certainly would have objected to that. But whether it's prejudicial or not is a different question, and I don't think any of that ultimately prejudiced him.
But if there's one thing that stands out in this trial to Professor Rosen, it's how provocative and graphic the witness statements are, giving prosecutors an abundant amount of evidence, Rosen says, to establish Hasan's guilt.
Now, this morning began with a request from Hasan's court-appointed legal advisors to have two of those defense attorneys absent from today's hearing, simply because they wanted to file that writ with the military appeals court, Heather. Again, they're trying to bring up this issue that they've had with the judge, that they want to be even further removed from Hasan's defense strategy.
All right, so Brandon, Hasan, we understand, really didn't ask a lot of questions today during the cross-examination. Is that still going on?
Right, he is refusing to engage them. He doesn't cross-examine any of these victims. However, this afternoon, there was something that the prosecutor had asked, something about pain and suffering by one of these victims. Hasan spoke up and said, "I object." He said aggravation evidence has its place. The judge sustained Hasan's objection. It's the first time that the judge has sustained anything, really, that Hasan has objected to, and they moved on. Aggravation circumstances, of course, something that would take place in the penalty phase of this. Heather?
Sure. All right. Well, Brandon, we appreciate your coverage all week. Thanks much. And we want to let everybody know that we're going to be back at Fort Hood as the trial continues next week. Stay with Fox 4 for the latest on air and online, myfoxdfw.com.